In the fall of 1987, local news channel WSB-TV2 of Atlanta, Georgia was attempting to fill a scheduling gap in their Sunday morning lineup. After a few solicitations by local business owners, they decided to allow the young Reverend Marley Sachs to take the available hour block to do a religiously themed show. It premiered October 18th, with very little promotion. The show was standard religious fare and consisted of the Reverend sitting in a simple chair reading passages from the Bible to the camera, discussing their interpretation and the significance to our modern day-to-day life. The show received a reasonable number of viewers and continued to be shown into early December. It was then that the studio began to receive extremely strange complaints from viewers of Words of Light with the Reverend Marley Sachs. The calls were from women, and women only, who vaguely referred to uncomfortable feelings they had at very specific intervals during the program. They described feelings of nausea, back pain, dizziness, and blurred vision. These callers, for no discernible reason, were convinced that it was the viewing of this program that was causing these symptoms. It was later determined, after 3 weeks of complaints, that these feelings were happening at roughly 12-minute intervals throughout the course of the program. The small studio staff checked all recording equipment, both audio and video, and found nothing faulty. When the Reverend was made aware of these incidents, he merely shrugged and stated cryptically that some can't handle the voice of God. The head of the studio, at a loss to explain the cause of these complaints, decided to continue running the program. By February, viewership had dropped sharply, and it was decided to pull the plug on the show. The studio had figured it would be more prudent to spend as much time as possible on the news story that had the other two local news networks abuzz: the miscarriage epidemic. Starting sometime in November, the number of healthy pregnant women miscarrying in the Atlanta metropolitan area had reached over 300. The CDC could find no discernible cause for this terrifying occurrence. The Reverend took the show's cancellation with what could only be described as abject indifference. When informed, he made no protest, merely nodded, almost knowingly. He left the studio after the last episode was filmed, without so much as a word, and dropped off the face of the earth. No one ever heard from him again. Not his former congregation, nor any member of the church. The studio moved on, of course, filling the slot with an infomercial, and continued to concentrate on this miscarriage story. About a year and a half later, an intern at the WSB studios discovered the tapes of Words of Light and began to go through them in an attempt to find stock footage for an upcoming piece the station was doing on the impact religion had on the city. The Atlanta incident, as the miscarriage epidemic became known in medical journals, petered out 3 months after the studio canceled Reverend Sachs' show and had already begun to fade from the public conscience. As the intern went through the tapes, he accidentally made a disturbing discovery about the footage. While attempting to stop one recording at 10 minutes and 45 seconds, he mistakenly jammed the fast-forward button down. While the footage whizzed by, he attempted to pry up the button with a screwdriver. Just as he succeeded, the tape stopped at 32 minutes and 1 second. The intern actually fell out of his chair when he looked up at what was frozen on the screen, the image of a badly decomposed severed head filling the entire frame. After he collected himself, he moved the film back a few frames, then forward, and realized that his mind was not playing tricks on him. He began to go through the rest of the recordings, and soon discovered that exactly at 12-minute intervals, the image would appear for 1 frame. Thinking it some practical joke being played on the new guy, he presented it to one of the film technicians, ready to be mocked. The technician was just as puzzled as he was. No one had touched the footage since the cancellation of the show. After the studio had closed for the night, the intern convinced the tech to help him go through all the tapes of Words of Light. They discovered that every single episode had this same horrifying anomaly. They also realized that as the show progressed, The image became more and more disgusting, as maggots began to eat away at the loose flesh, and pieces of hair and skin seemed to have fallen off exponentially. The tech made clear to the intern that what they were seeing was technically impossible, since the film itself showed absolutely no signs of splicing. He himself had been at every filming of the show, and knew of no time when this image could have been inserted into this frame. All of this was presented to the studio head, who, fearing some kind of backlash over allowing this to get on air, ordered all tapes to be destroyed. He told the intern and tech that he had no interest in knowing who did it at this point, only that covering their collective asses is all that's important now. He demanded that they mention this to no one. The tech easily moved on, remembering the incident as a darkly funny personal anecdote, but the intern wouldn't let it go. He made copies of as many tapes as he could, before they were wiped, and took them to see if he could find anything else in them, anything that might point to who had done this, or why they would. A week later, he attempted to rope the tech into helping him once again, saying he believed he had discovered something even more disturbing than the images themselves. When the single frames were edited together in chronological order, the head's mouth appeared to be moving, as if trying to form words. The tech, fearing for his job, told him to get rid of the copies and to never talk about it again. A week later, police responded to a 911 call made by an elderly woman in one of the Atlanta suburbs at dusk. She had heard horrible noises coming from her next-door neighbor's house, where a young couple lived. She told the emergency responder that the wife was pregnant, and she was terrified that something had happened. When the officers arrived on scene 20 minutes later, they found no lights on in the windows, and the front door was ajar. They moved in slowly and made their way into the living room. Inside, they found a young woman, dead, with her abdomen slashed wide open. The wound was jagged, and a trail of blood led from the body to the couch on the far end of the room. There sat her husband, the studio intern, naked, the corpse of his unborn child at his feet, dying. In his hand, he held the rusty piece of metal siding he had used to gut his pregnant wife. The television was on, playing an 18-second loop of silent footage of a decomposing head, mouthing some unintelligible words. The story at the police precinct to this day goes that the intern kept saying under his breath, over and over again as they led him away,
"The light of God calls to them."
What is up, guys? Blue Spooky here, as always. Thank you guys so much for watching, especially if you made it this far into the end of the video. Thank you guys for sending in your stories and all your comments and support. It's really made me feel a lot better after all that stuff. I admit that maybe I panicked a little bit more than I should have because I had 2 strikes, but I think with the videos taken down and everything, that I'll eventually put back up after the strikes are gone. It'll probably be fine, but I still have my second channel there in the comments in case something does happen. I'm also gonna this week try to start posting videos on there as well. I want to read some stuff that's not as scary type of stuff on there, probably some web novels, and maybe do like some read-overs of like manga and stuff if anybody's interested in that kind of thing. Please be sure to like, share, or subscribe if you enjoyed the video and feel so inclined. If you do subscribe, make sure to hit that bell and click the all so you can be notified of all my new upcoming videos. Please be sure to leave any feedback in the comments below if you have anything you'd like to let me know, any ways I can improve or anything. Links to all of my social media will be in the description of the video below. You can send me a message on any of those and I will try to get back to you as soon as possible. But be warned that I don't use Facebook as often as I use Twitter or Gmail. If you decide to send in a story to help me out, please be sure to include what the name of the story is if it has one, how you would like to be credited in the description of the video the story appears in, and the theme of the story if it has any. Please be sure that it's easy to read and has relatively appropriate grammar, but other than that, pretty much I'll accept anything. Huge thanks to my artist friend Alan, who is doing all my art for this channel and the other channel, so be sure to check him out. I think he does commissions and he does a lot of cool horror stuff, so you might be able to get some good things out of him. If you're curious about the music used in this video, it's in the description in the order it appears, as always, with links to the artist. And I think that's about it. So thank you guys so much for watching, and I hope you guys have a great day.